so much. Well, let me start by thanking the DGAR, Lieutenant General Sukhdeep Sangwan, for the kind words, and also Major General B.K. Sharma, the Director USI, for the kind words of introduction. And I must confess that you have both stolen some part of the thunder, and nevertheless, I'll touch upon issues that you have covered and try and clarify. The DGR mentioned that very little is known about the Assam Rifles. I think that's not the case. If you ask me frankly, having been the Eastern Army Commander, the Chief, Assam Rifle is a very, very potent component of the military element of national park. And when we talk of the military component for the officers who are seated from various battalions, junior officers who may not understand, well, ladies and gentlemen, the national power constitutes the diplomatic, political, your economic, information, and military elements of national power all combined, which gives the nation the capability to further its agenda, whether it's in the domestic arena or, for that matter, in the regional and the global context. And so when you look at Assam Rifles, Assam Rifle is a very, very precious component of the military. And military is not just the Army, Navy, and the Air Force. When we talk about the military element per se, besides the three services, it includes the paramilitary forces, amongst which, of course, Assam Rifle is number one. And it includes the Central Armed Police Forces. It includes the police forces as well. Because when you talk of the domestic arena, internal security is a state subject, which comes under the DGP of the state. And that is augmented by Central Armed Police Forces to ensure when there is a problem to deal with it. So therefore, when you see the spectrum of conflict, and when you see the arena and the task and mandate of the military with regard to domestic and external challenges, you'll find that all these components get involved. But yes, let me give an analogy of a watch or a clock, which I often give and I've been giving in the Army. That while at the national level, at the highest level, when the strategies and policies are unfolded, you see the senior leadership. You don't get to see, the junior leaders, the operational leaders, and the tactical leaders. For example, what Assam Rifle does is going to be seen through General Sangwan, what he does when he interacts, with the Ministry of Home Affairs, with other stakeholders of the environment, when he speaks, when he addresses people, he goes abroad, meets people, other armies. That is what is visible when I talk of the clock. You see the two hands of the clock, which are visible to the people. But mind you, so similarly, when you talk at the national level, you see the ministers, you see the political leaders who are visible to various stakeholders, to the domestic, to the regional and international community. But in that clock, in that watch, ladies and gentlemen, there are innumerable small little components which have to function in synergy, in a collaborative manner, to ensure that these strategies are unfolded. You may have the best of strategies, you may have the winning strategies, but unless you have great leaders down below, unless you have people who can understand the strategy and implement it in the right perspective, in concert with other elements of national power and other stakeholders of the environment, no strategy can succeed. So from that point of view, when you look at Assam Rifles, I think it's an organization to be reckoned with. It has proven its credentials. It has.
General Bikram Singh, may I interrupt? General Bikram Singh, may I interrupt for a second? Your video is not coming. Can you please switch on your video?
Is it coming now?
No, it's not coming. You need to switch on your camera. Your video is not on. Yes, now it's okay. Sorry for the interruption.
No, it's okay. I'm glad you did that, because otherwise I didn't know people couldn't see me. But anyway, once again, to everybody in this gathering, my greetings once again. Let me start with that. I think you couldn't see me earlier. And I was basically talking about, I'm sure, could they hear me, but? So I did not repeat what I said earlier.
We can hear you.
Okay, yeah. Perfect. So getting back onto the thing that, it's a very, very potent force, a very precious element of the military component of national power, and has done its bit. And the DG spoke about, and even General P.K. Sharma while introducing me, of my experience about Assam Rifles as an Army commander, Eastern Command, and as a chief. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I have hands-on experience as far as Assam Rifle is concerned. I have rubbed shoulders with the soldiers of Assam Rifle as a young second lieutenant, as a lieutenant colonel when I was posted in Arunachal Pradesh. As a lieutenant, I was in Nagaland. And mind you, for that matter, I have been right up to Talungla as a lieutenant colonel when I was 2IC of a battalion. Talungla, where in the month and they had ambushed some of our brave hearts. And we lost some soldiers over there. I take this opportunity to salute them as well. This is a very noble initiative today that is being undertaken. It's a tribute to the Martyrs, and I pay my reverential tribute to the Martyrs of Assam Rifles. And there are 1,174 of these, right from 62 onwards, who laid down their life, who made the ultimate sacrifice in the line of duty for our great nation. So it's great. But getting on to the fact that, when I said I've rubbed shoulders, ladies and gentlemen, I remember as a second lieutenant, even having walked right from Ghaspani, Nichugarh, Ghaspani, Farema, Pafima, Lalmeti, Kohima, this road. This is where when the battalion got inducted from Arunachal Pradesh into Nagaland, when Hukashe Sima, the chief minister then in 1972, was ambushed south of Kohima. That's the time the battalion got inducted from Arunachal Pradesh, Nagaland. And I had the privilege of that time interacting with a large number of Assam Rifle troops. And I carry beautiful memories of their professionalism, of their courage, their grit, their discipline. It's an outstanding force. So therefore, today, when I speak on the subject, I shall be drawing on my experience, beautiful memories of this great organization. And of course, as a youngster, as a second lieutenant, as a lieutenant colonel, I interacted at the tactical level. But of course, as I grew in service, I had the opportunity to interact with the operational and strategic leaders of this great organization as well, and visit their headquarters. Right, Assam Rifles has come a long way, as I said earlier. Having started as Kachar Levy in 1835, it was rechristened as Assam Rifles in 1917 and has continued with that name. In between, it changed number of times its designation, and I hope this name now continues as Assam Rifles in the times to come. Well, change is the only constant, and you never know, depending on how the integration of various agencies is done. But that notwithstanding, I think it's a day to pay tribute to the Martyrs and to this great organization, which since 1917 as Assam Rifles has done stupendous service, given yeoman service to the national cause. Having started with 750 men initially, today it has 46 battalions. I was told 20 battalions are guarding the border, which was brought out by the DGAR, essentially with Myanmar. And because it's one border, one force concept, which came about after the Kargil Review Committee report of 1999, based on the group of ministers' recommendation, it is one border, one force. And in the Northeast, we have, as far as Myanmar is concerned, that border being managed by the 20 battalions of Assam Rifles. And the remainder battalions are, of course, committed on the CT grid and carrying out various other activities. The awards has already been brought out, ladies and gentlemen, by USI as also by the DGAR, which aptly highlight and to quote some of these at the expense of being repetitive because they need to be mentioned. The organization has 4 Ashok Chakras, 33 Kirti Chakras, 147 Shaurya Chakras, and 53 unit citations. Of course, I remember as Army Commander honoring some of the battalions and also as a chief giving citation to some of the and being by the military hierarchy or the Assam Rifles hierarchy, but it's also by the constitutional authorities of various states. There are 17 governors' appreciations that the Assam Rifle has earned in the last 2 years, along with 4 the GOCNC Eastern Command's commendation citations. Right, when we look at the subject, per se, ladies and gentlemen, that is Assam Rifles' role in the Act East policy and also in the backdrop of the insurrectionist arena, the security arena. To be honest with you, I had to zoom in and zoom out of this particular subject to understand the bigger picture. And in that bigger picture, see how the Assam Rifle fits in. Because when you talk of the Act East policy, which is an upgraded version of the Look East policy, Look East policy, which came about in the 90s, once we adopted a liberalized economy, we wanted to integrate with the Northeast. And that's where we came out with the Look East policy. But after the present government, which came into power on the 26th of May, at that point of time, they have come out with this. In fact, it was in November that the Honorable Prime Minister announced the Act East policy. Act East policy, ladies and gentlemen, has a greater focus, greater accountability, a more collaborative approach towards achieving national goals with regard to the region. Initially, the aim was essentially to integrate economically, and it was mentioned earlier, culture, connectivity, your commerce, what was we were looking at. But then, over a period of time, the security has also become a very, very important facet of the Act East policy. And I remember as Eastern Army Commander, as the chief, our interaction, our relationship with the immediate neighborhood, extended neighborhood of the Northeast has actually gone up. Number of, I would say, notches up. We have excellent relationship with these countries. And if you ask me frankly, if today Northeast is experiencing peace and tranquility, and I would say a dip in the insurrectionist activity, we have to actually attribute this to the great job done by the Assam Rifles and the national policy of Act East, wide which the nation at the political level, at the economic level, at the diplomatic level, at the military level, we've been able to engage with our immediate neighbors and ensure that we create mechanisms, we create systems wide which we are able to get the intelligence with regard to the terrorists, their hideouts, their operations, and we can we can be forewarned and we can stonewall their activities in the Northeast. And that has played handsome dividends. So therefore, when you look at the larger canvas of this particular policy, it goes well beyond the immediate neighborhood and extended neighborhood. It gets into the arenas of Oceania. We include the Australia, New Zealand, Japan. All these countries, ladies and gentlemen, the Indo-Pacific region, they all come into the Act East policy. And you would have seen that the present, our Prime Minister, Honorable Prime Minister, Mr. Modi, has been very, very active, very proactive, very aggressive in ensuring that we are able to build healthy diplomatic and political relations, which are the precursor to development of military relations with various countries. And today we are definitely well placed with regard to ensuring the security of the Northeast. Okay, but as I said, when you zoom out, zoom into the particular subject of Act East policy and the role of Assam Rifles, one realizes that Assam Rifle, given its mandate, essentially is ensuring the implementation of the strategy by providing secure conditions and creating conditions which enables the economic, political, and diplomatic initiatives to be launched and our forays towards the immediate and extended neighborhood, especially the connectivity with regard to Myanmar, Bangladesh. And we have large number of projects which I'll cover as we go along. These projects which have been undertaken by our government, essentially to enhance the connectivity which will result in development, it will result in commerce, and economic integration, ladies and gentlemen, brings about peace and tranquility. It develops ownership, of the commerce on both sides and various countries, and therefore you'll find peace being ushered in. And therefore, the overall strategy, I must compliment the present government, which has been able to ensure that this very focused and very deliberate, our progress in the Act East policy has delivered handsome dividends. When we look at the Assam Rifles' role in the Northeast, I think the most important thing that Assam Rifle has done is, in terms of, besides of course ensuring peace, stability, border management, counter-insurgency operation, The DGR, spoke about his operations against the smuggling, gun running, drug trafficking, and all that. That's excellent. But to my way of looking, when you see from the strategic level, I think the greatest achievement is of the Assam Rifles, which has 40% of the local recruits in its integration of the Northeast with the mainland. Let me tell you, in '72, when I was a second lieutenant in Nagaland, I am tempted to actually cite an incident at Marema, where the battalion headquarters was. And I was actually looking after the company at Narema. Those of you who have seen this area on the Kohima-Bokha Road. We had a mascot, a company mascot, a little puppy, we had got hold of from the village. And when we were leaving, the Gaon Buddha, the headman of the village, came and he wanted that puppy back. And I said, look, we are attached to this puppy. It's a mascot of the company, and we are not going to leave it behind. So he asked for some money, and I asked him, I said, what would you do? Of course, he said, you leave it to us, what we'll do with it. But I said, look, I'm not going to leave this puppy behind. So we paid him the money, whatever he asked for at that point of time. And we got the puppy along. And I remember the conversation that time with Gaon Buddha, and he mentioned, I still remember, that, so you are taking this puppy to India. That's what he said. So what I'm trying to bring out is that in '70s, people did not realize, most of them, and of course, the communications were bad. Let's be very clear. Northeast was connected by just this 25 kilometers of Siliguri corridor. And the influence of these states, which are surrounding the northeastern states, whether it's China, it's Myanmar, Bangladesh, Nepal, Bhutan, the influence of the external players was far more vis-a-vis our own, because the connectivity was only through the 25 kilometers, Siliguri corridor, which over a period of time, given the look-east policy and of the act-east policy, we have been able to enhance the connectivity. There are 7 airfields that have been done up in the northeast. We have railway lines, we have transportation system, we have, transportation system, we have the linkages, road and rail link, which is going to be passing through Bangladesh, the Kaladan project, the other east-west corridor. Various other roads that are coming up are going to connect, and they have actually done it already. For that matter, today, if you go down to any 5-star hotel or any hotel, I would say in the hospitality industry, you travel by aircraft, you will find young boys and girls of the Northeast today. You will find them in every nook and corner. You'll find them in defense services. You'll find them in every field of our country. And that's a very, very healthy sign. And let me tell you, as the director of military operations too, who was dealing with the Northeast, when I got posted after my higher command course in the Northeast, I used to feel very sad, if you ask me frankly, because I used to find that the understanding and the chasm that existed between the people of Northeast and mainland was hell of a lot, which today has been bridged. And development to see that the people of the Northeast are countrymen, outstanding countrymen, very knowledgeable, well-read, the literacy rates are very, very high, are doing a great job today in every field in our country. And that's very, very, very interesting. And I think Assam Rifle has played a very, very vital role in this regard. As I said earlier, 40% of your recruits, of your composition, are the locals, the sons of the soil, who understand the aspirations of the locals, their customs, traditions, and languages. And mind you, there is tremendous diversity in the Northeast. Out of the total 635 tribal communities that are there in the country, over 200 are in the Northeast. And it's the Assam Rifle that with its people has been able to achieve that. Of course, it's not, as I said earlier, in isolation, Assam Rifle has done it. It's in concert with the army, the other paramilitary forces, the CAPF, the police forces. It's a collective, collaborative effort. But I would like to attribute this in a very big way to Assam Rifles that has done a yeoman's service to the nation. So from that point of view, dealing with diversity, of course, we had the 6th schedule, which has been utilized in a number of places. 6th schedule of which is actually applicable in the states of Assam, Meghalaya, Mizoram, and Tripura, has been able to assuage the aspirations, the concerns of the peoples of the Northeast in terms of giving them autonomy and giving them their political rights in certain places. So that has been done, and we are aware of the autonomous various councils that have come up, which has also contributed to the great security situation of the Northeast. Right. When we look at the security canvas, before I touch on certain important facets, and I don't intend, ladies and gentlemen, covering various facets of the look of the Act East policy to bore you. I'm going to make it more interesting with anecdotes and things that actually matter. The metamorphosis, the transition, the watershed moment, I would say, in the Northeast with regard to the security situation was the signing of the peace agreement with the NSCNIM, which was the mother group. And this was done on the 1st of August, 1997. I was Director of Military Operations too, and I remember it was on the 1st of August that we took off from Delhi in a BSF aircraft. We refueled, and I think it was at Patna in between, and thereafter we landed at Dimapur, and in the entourage was Mr. Padma Nabhaiya, who was the Home Secretary at that point of time. Mr. Arun Bhagat was the Director IB. DGMO was General Indar Verma, and I was Director MO2, accompanying the DGMO as a staff officer. And of course, we landed at Dimapur, then from there we flew to Kohima, met Mr. Jamir, who was the Chief Minister. I had an interaction with him. I was, of course, as a backbencher, taking down notes and generally understanding what was going on. But that was the start point, tipping point, ladies and gentlemen, because the mother group, when it came into Camino de la Paz, they say, path to peace, the things turned. Because this was one group which was sustaining, giving training, and empowering other groups of the Northeast. And along with this, let's not forget the present dispensation of Sheikh Hasina, Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina in Bangladesh, has again played a crucial role in ensuring peace and stability in the Northeast, because it has denied safe havens to the terrorists. She came to power in January 2009, and since then she's continued. And this is a shot in the arm as far as our relationship with Bangladesh are concerned. She is pro-India. Before that, Khalida Zia was actually under the influence of ISI. And I remember as a director in 1997, how things were shaping up. Things were really bad. Things were really bad at that point of time. And I remember, every day there used to be bloodshed. But then, yes, this the agreement that was signed with NSCNIM, ladies and gentlemen, it was brokered from a position of strength, I wish to tell you this. And hats off to the Army and Assam Rifles at that point of time, 80-odd battalions. And we had actually achieved a combat ratio of 1:10. For every terrorist, there were 10 soldiers. Well, that's the kind of combat ratio I remember we worked it out. And that is what ensured peace and stability. And the Assam Rifles did a great job, and we were able to thereafter ensure this. So Bangladesh's involvement in denying safe havens, apprehending a large number of leaders of UNLF, Megan, for example. He's the supremo of the UNLF from Manipur, a Methi group. He was apprehended, given to us. The Ulfa leaders like Raj Khova, Anup Chetia, they were apprehended, handed over to us. These, gestures by Bangladesh, and hats off, of course, to the government for that bilateral relationship, which has strengthened by the day. In fact, Anup Chetia was actually languishing in the prison in Bangladesh for a very long time. It's at the behest of the Honorable Prime Minister, Mr. Modi, that he got this person repatriated to India. Today he's in jail and being tried. He was handed over to the CBI a long time ago. So what I'm coming to is that these things have played a pivotal role, along with of course, the role of the Assam Rifles. And the Myanmar too, the stupendous job undertaken by Assam Rifles, which is ensuring defense cooperation, military-to-military cooperation with Myanmar. Myanmar has handed over again, I think, 22 militants in May 2020, this year. And it's never happened before. We could never resist this kind of accountability. This only goes to show that Assam Rifle is totally committed, dedicated. Its professionalism in ensuring that we are able to army towards our national cause, I think, is stupendous. And hats off to the organization for this, and the leadership, of course, under Jan Sangwan. As an army commander, let me tell you, and also as a chief, and thereafter I've been monitoring the situation of the Northeast, ladies and gentlemen. I'm but less of action. Yes, we had some days back the targeting of the 6 Assam Rifle, troops in Terep. Tirap, Changlang, Longding, Longding, of course, a district which came about later in the Arunachal Pradesh region, has traditionally been the area of NSCNK. And I was pretty surprised got to know that it was the operation carried out by NSCNIM. And I'm told it was an act of reprisal because 6 AR had, killed 5 or 6 terrorist times. So I think the rifle is now doing a great job, as I said earlier. And today, it's my belief, and it's based on facts, and the very fact that, when you see the overall results in operations, which has actually come down. And let me just quote this to you, the figures. Directed to the military operations. Civilians 1997 were 839. Today, I'm talking about 2019, and I've taken these details from South Asia Terrorism Portal, ladies and gentlemen. It comes out with reasonably accurate, veracity-wise, details. 2019, there have been only 12. Mind you, from 1997, when we had 839 civilians being killed, we've had last only 12. This year's figures were not posted there, are not covered, though of course the DGR would be having it, Eastern Command would be having it, and for that matter, even the MO would be having it. I didn't probe them. But based on the open, source information, this is what I'm telling you. The security forces killed in 1997 were 289. Last year, only 5. Terrorists killed in 1997 were 550. Now, this result in operations would testify that things actually have come down. The violence levels have come down. And for this, of course, the kudos, the honors go to the military, in which Assam Rifle has played a pivotal role and ensured definitely along the Indo-Myanmar border that terrorists do not come in and they spill over their activities from Myanmar into India. Along with all this, ladies and gentlemen, 2 more aspects which I would like to, give the credit to the present government of Honorable Mr. Modi, Prime Minister Modi, is they are dealing with the large number of NGOs who are being sponsored and financed by external inimical forces to vitiate the internal security environment of the Northeast. And there are 1,807 NGOs all over India, pan-India. But in the Northeast, large number of these have actually been neutralized. And the funds which were coming as part of the Foreign Contribution Regulation Act, that has been terminated. And these NGOs, therefore, are not able to carry out these activities. I think you all are aware of the large number, over 1,500, human rights violations, which had come up, and some of sections of the inimical media had reported that from the Northeast. And I'm aware of this. I was the chief at that point of time dealing with this in Manipur. Similarly, other states would do it. But hats off to the present government, which has ensured that there is a regulatory framework for the media, nationalistic, I would say, a component, 5th pillar of our democracy, 4th pillar of our democracy, 5th being, of course, the social media. With this nationalistic flavor, has also ensured that the terrorists, they cannot further their activities. They cannot flex their muscles. Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you my experience of 15 Corps and the Northeast is that, media plays an important role as far as terrorism is concerned. Media can make a terrorist into Robin Hood, and it can make a terrorist into a criminal. And I'm glad that today the nationalist media of ours is calling spade a spade, calling the criminals as criminals. And none of them is a Robin Hood, because anyone who picks up an arm against the Constitution, against the state, deserves to be handled with force. And from that point of view, the handling of the media, I would say, their nationalistic flavor today, which is evident to them when they report, I think that is played a pivotal role. We don't have media today trying to, glorify the terrorist deeds. And when that is not glorified, media, provides oxygen to the terrorists. It's a fodder for the terrorists. And once the media doesn't report their activities, you'll find that, their activities get suppressed. That is very, very crucial. And also, their frontline organization in the form of NGOs who are sponsored by external inimical powers have been neutralized. They don't have funds to carry out their, anti-state, community activities. Now, since we are talking in the realm of the Act East policy, ladies and gentlemen, as I brought out earlier, from 1991, when we opened our economy, and the first area that the government looked at was the Southeast Asia, and that's where we had the Look East policy. It also had, let me tell you, at that point of time in 1991 when it came about, I gave you the example of that degree of alienation which existed in the Northeast vis-a-vis the mainland, to address also. So it was to integrate the Northeast as well, and that's where you'll find in 1997, though we had the Northeastern Council which came up. We had 2001 the donor coming up. That's the Ministry of Development of Northeastern region, and it's a one single window or agency, I would say, a ministry that is looking after the development and also looking after the overall activities of the Northeast. Let me tell you.
General Bikram Singh, your audio is not.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, yes, we can hear you now.
Is it okay now?
Yes, it's okay.
Okay, right. So anyway, I have gone off my thoughts. So important forum which we have as far as when we talk in terms of our commerce, connectivity, and culture, and of course capacity development, which has been added by the Honorable Prime Minister, and the earlier three were given out by the former Foreign Minister of ours, Srimati Sushma Swaraj. She had in one of the roundtable meetings of ASEAN mentioned that. But I think it's a very all-encompassing prongs which are required with the Northeast. And from 1992, when we were the sectoral partner of ASEAN, today we are the summit level partner. So we have graduated today. We have our say, and we are there. And mind you, this ASEAN today, along in India, in relation to India, has 30 dialogue mechanisms, and we have 7 ministerial level dialogues taking place. So it's a comprehensive integration, comprehensive interface with the countries of Southeast Asia to ensure that we are able to strengthen our economic ties with them, our military ties with them, our diplomatic, political, economic ties with them, and ensure the furtherance of the South Asia, of our policy, Act East policy, and Southeast Asia. And which, of course, as I said earlier, Act East policy goes right up to Japan, Australia, Oceania. It goes into the Indo-Pacific. Now, while I talked of ASEAN, we have BIMSTEC, the Mekong Ganga Cooperation, IOR Association, Oceania. There are a large number of treaties, agreements that we have signed with number of people, number of groupings exist. Of consequence to the Assam Rifle, when I said when you zoom in to find out what Assam Rifle has done, zoom out, I've given you the bigger picture how Assam Rifle is placed as part of the military element of national park. But when you zoom in, you find that the of Assam Rifles is going to come about as part of the Kaladan project, which is a multi-modal transport project coming up. The Bangladesh, China, India, and Myanmar road corridor that is coming up. It's coming up as part of the Reed-Tiddam project, south of Champai, Reed, in Mizoram. From there, the road going to the east into Myanmar at a place, Tiddam. Incidentally, I've been there as Director MO2, for one of the one of our reconnaissance operations, along with the Myanmar Army. And in addition, where the Assam Rifle comes into play is the management of the border in terms of the free movement regime. Take place. For example, when you look at, Kamu More, for example, that area, there's tremendous amount of activity that takes place. There are crossing places which are over there. But, the legacy of the British, which they left behind by dividing tribes on both sides, it's being met by the government's policy of the free trade agreement or free on either side is an area where people, the tribals with headloads can come and go. This management is important because unless we deal with the locals, with proper, I would say, decorum, we are ethical in our approach. We arrest their aspirations. We do not unnecessarily put them into inconvenience. Ladies and gentlemen, because let's not forget, in an insurrectionist arena, the center of gravity is the population. We should not forget this. When I say center of gravity, the definition of this is the strength, resource, which gives the freedom of maneuver, will to fight to the terrorists. It gives strength to the terrorists to fight, and that is, population. Population has to be with you, whether it's across Myanmar or ours. So dealing with them appropriately, dealing with our people well, and hats off to Assam Rifles composition, which has 40% locals, which enables the organization, the military, to ensure that we deal with our locals in the right manner, right perspective, in an ethical manner. We uphold the value of integrity, where we do the right thing, not only legally, but also morally. And we ensure the loyalty towards our citizens, towards our organization, towards the constitution, towards the tricolor, towards the nation and everybody. Loyalty has multi-prongs. So as long as this is being done, which has been ensured by Assam Rifles, I think we'll continue to ensure that we are able to further the agenda. You can ask me during question hour if you want me to cover any of these projects. I have details on these. But importantly in this, ladies and gentlemen, is also the defense cooperation that has come about. I think I would fail in my duties today if I did not touch upon the Malabar exercise that's going on, part of the defense cooperation, which though essentially, mind you, looking after the series of communications, we've had the first round which completed from the 3rd to 7th. The second phase of the exercise is on, which started on the 17th. Perhaps it's today is the last day, or maybe tomorrow. In this, multifarious activities have been carried out. But more importantly than going beyond the tactical and operational activities that have been done, it's a strategic message to an specialist part of the region, China. I think that is something that is required. And I must compliment the government, where it has been able to ensure the involvement of Australia. This is very much part of the Act East policy, because if you do not contain China's expansionist designs, we would stand to lose. China has already been creating and enhancing its footprint in the region, in the immediate neighborhood. We got to counter those. And to counter that, of course, as I said earlier, ethical approach, an approach which is marked by our integrity, that is the legally and morally correct approach. As long as we have that with the people of the Northeast and with the neighbors that we are interacting with, ladies and gentlemen, we'll be able to consolidate our position with regard to this Act East policy. And Malabar exercise, of course, is going to be a precursor. I was trying to check up. I don't have the details per se regarding Quad, but I'm told that very soon there'll be a secretariat that will be coming up. Where it comes up, one doesn't still know, but I suppose that's going to be something. We have the director, USI, who's going to be involved in 1.5 dialogue. He would be better informed, and perhaps at some stage will be able to brief you on this. Just a word, Dr. Roshan Khanijo, I have another 7 minutes.
Yes, General, you can take another 5 minutes.
Yeah, because I generally stick to the timing, and I find I've taken about 35, 40 minutes already.
5 minutes.
Right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, let me just touch upon the challenges. We have the strategic, operational, and the tactical leadership of this very elite organization today sitting. Of course, in addition to the members of the USI who are listening to me. The greatest challenge is going to be to prevent the re-emergence of centrifugal forces in the Northeast. The secessionist tendencies. We have just heard about the NSC and IM. The media reported Muiwa's interaction coming to Delhi. They are trying to revive some of their activities. As per the media, some of their leaders are camping in Kunming in the Yunnan province of China. trying to, again, perhaps get some assistance from China. But what I'm trying to bring out is when I say centrifugal forces, there is going to be definitely attempts at a hybrid warfare against India. Let's be very clear. Under the present strong government of Mr. Modi, which has done wonders, let me tell you, as against China and Pakistan. We've given a bloody nose to Pakistan by the surgical strikes at Balakot. I think we have finally put Pakistan in place. You know, a country which right from 47 was trying to compete with us in every possible thing. If we exploded a nuclear device, they did it. If we fought something, they did it. So they have been put in place with the surgical strikes at Balakot. Let's be very clear on that. People do talk about it. I think there's no point in talking in terms of what happened with that. We have to see the strategic message that has been conveyed to the international community, to the regional community, to Pakistan in particular, to China, that look, we are not going to accept any nonsense anymore, and we are going to hit where it hurts the most, when, if required and when required. That is one. Second, of course, you would have seen in Eastern Ladakh, ladies and gentlemen. I think it's an excellent approach, realism, marked foreign policy, realism wherein use of force is an important component of the overall geopolitical strategy of the country. And I think we need to be able to, again, give the right message to China. We've got to wait and watch what happens. There is an initiative which is going to be put in place very soon, which is being debated to dealing from that area. But what I'm coming to is that we should not forget that the Northeast is going to be targeted definitely through a hybrid warfare which will have minimal telltale signs and attribution towards China and, you know, towards Pakistan. They may employ third, player into this, various stakeholders into this. They get into subversion. They will try and revive their strongholds in Nepal and Bangladesh. We have to be mindful of this. This is going to be a very big challenge. And Nepal, as you all know, when I was GOC 15 Corps, we had taken up a case, ladies and gentlemen. Most of the terrorists who were holed out, who were actually, gone into Pakistan, back to they were of course care of. We got the entire thing through the army headquarters when I was GOC 15 Corps, and later on as the chief, of course, I took up the case. We ensured, and the government is sensitive about it. The MHA has ensured that these people do not get in, and if they are tagged. Thereafter, they are put through, a proper system to ensure that they are indoctrinated. Earlier, NSE and IM, which has actually been overground for last 23 years, which has enjoyed the liberties, the civil liberties of moving around in the entire country. So, of course, they've been indulging in parallel governance in Nagaland. I'm aware of that when I was the East Nani commander and even as a chief. Their activities in terms of extortion, gun running, drug trafficking hasn't stopped. It's been continuing. But I personally feel they will not perhaps be able to do anything worthwhile because people, their cadres have got used to, I think, comforts. Let's be very clear. And I remember Mr. Inder Gujral, the former Prime Minister of India, when he was the Prime Minister, he addressed the Delhi University. In that, he had willy-nilly brought out, looking after Myanmar, maintaining that, close relationship to make sure that the Chinese footprint do not, increase over there. Perhaps if there are any questions, I'll be too glad to take them on.
Okay.